Go ahead and get started. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is public comment. We have David Ross. Please state your name and address.
David Ross, 808 East Manor Road, Independence, Missouri, 64055.
Thank you.
Again, David Ross, and I work for Field Turf. I'm here tonight with Brandon Jackson, the president and owner of Precision Construction, Sports Field Construction. Precision competed for the previous project under consideration at Rathert Stadium in regards to natural grass renovation earlier. I was not involved in the previous project due to the fact that artificial turf was not under consideration. On the agenda tonight is consideration of the design-built proposals for artificial turf at Rathert Stadium. Precision Sports Field Construction, partnered with Field Turf, was read as the lowest bidder. Precision is the exclusive base builder for Field Turf in the state of Kansas. Field Turf is the inventor of long fiber infield systems that are under consideration tonight and have been privileged to be the world leader in artificial turf installations the past consecutive 17 years. The turf product comes with an 8-year warranty, the sub-base with a 12-year warranty. We designed Rathert Stadium with another highly respected turf ballpark in the state of Kansas in the city of Pittsburgh called J.C. Ballpark. With that in mind, we designed Rathert Stadium to turn everything outside the foul lines into turf to help with maintenance and cutting down on transition areas from turf to grass. The RFP only requested warning tracks to be turf, so it has been confirmed that our proposal possibly has an additional 10,000 square feet of turf as compared to the other proposals. So I wanted to come here tonight and be on record that had we bid the same square footage, there are some potential value engineering deducts that we didn't have the opportunity to display in our submitted proposal. Those potential deducts are $8,000 on the base bid and $12,000 on the alternates that were under bid consideration. So why am I telling you this, being the apparent low bidder at this time? I'm involved with many projects that are budget sensitive and related to taxpayer dollars. So, you know, if we are honored and to be awarded this project, we are willing to have those discussions and honor those value engineering deducts. We'll be here and available for any further questions you may have about a proposal and qualifications as is under consideration tonight. Rathert Stadium is a unique and historic ballpark, and we value the opportunity to partner with you on this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the consent agenda. Are there any questions or concerns?
Nope, everything I had was taken care of. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is presentation for the Extra Mile Day. Extra Mile Day. Whereas Junction City, Kansas is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists when the entire community, when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas the city of Junction City is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Junction City, Kansas is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Junction City, Kansas acknowledges the mission of the Extra Mile America to create 550 extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2018. Now therefore, I, Pat Landis, the mayor of the city of Junction City, do hereby proclaim November 1, 2018, to be Extra Mile Day. And I urge each individual in the community to take their time on that day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, and the world a better place. Very good.
We went that extra. Good job.
Next item is new business consideration, or consider the request to solicit bids for the demolition of the structure located at 403 West 14th Street. Mr. Carmen?
Mayor, Commissioners, as you just read, we're going to consider to request solicit bids on this property. The pre-bid meeting will be the 30th of this month. 2 days later, the bid opening will be here at the City Hall at 10 o'clock in the morning on, I believe, the 1st. I don't have that in front of me, but it goes out to a minimum of 3 bidders, and it's also advertised, so we are asking to solicit bids.
Any further questions for Mr. Carmen?
Nope.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve to solicit bids for the demolition of property at 403 West 14th Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is consideration to apply for the fourth quarter Firehouse Subs Foundation Grant to replace 20 self-contained breathing apparatus cylinders. Chief Johnson.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, come before you tonight. We have a need to start replacing our SCBA cylinders. According to the U.S. DOT, the service life on these cylinders is 15 years. We're coming into that window where we need to start replacing these cylinders. I came across the Firehouse Subs grant. We have a Firehouse Subs in Manhattan, which places us within their 60-mile radius. I've spoken with the manager, and they support this. So what I'm requesting is to fill out the online application to purchase 20 cylinders at the cost of $18,980. This is a 100% grant, no match. Any questions?
How many cylinders do you have now, and does this cover all of them, or?
It doesn't cover all of them. We have approximately 48 cylinders. But what it will do is will allow us to spread out our equipment budget a lot easier. We get 20 now, and then maybe 10 towards the end of next year, 10 the year after, so we're still in that window where we can replace these. We should be able to do this with no problem.
Can we reapply next year?
We can apply every quarter. If we don't get it this quarter, we can apply every quarter until they approve it. They receive applications from all over the country.
Sure.
And each region gets, I guess, so many that they can approve. The maximum for the grant is 20,000. So we're not at the max, but also with the number of stores that they have in the north, in this region and down towards Wichita is where most of the stores are, I believe. For this franchise, they're pretty successful at getting these grants.
Good.
But we can apply every quarter.
Well, we appreciate your diligence in stretching our dollars. It's really great.
So when you say you can apply every quarter, so let's say that you get it this time, so you can apply next quarter for more?
We would have to, I have to look at the rules, but I think once we're awarded, we have to wait at least a year.
Okay,
But if we're not awarded, we can keep applying.
okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
I make a motion to approve the application of the 2018 fourth quarter Firehouse Subs Foundation grant for the JCFD for the amount of $18,980.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the consideration to award the purchase of 4 stainless steel V-Box salt spreaders with saddle tanks from Victor L. Phillips Company, Topeka, Kansas, in the amount not to exceed $68,740. Mr. Ibarra.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, we went out for bid for salt spreaders.
And we got a bid back in October 9th, 2018 from two different companies, one from Victor L. Phillips of Topeka, Kansas, and the other from Midwest Truck Equipment from Wichita, Kansas. Victor L. Phillips had a low bid of $68,740 for 4 spreaders. The base price of each spreader was $17,185. Midwest Truck's bid was $18,399.25 for each spreader, and their base bid was $73,597. They also bid on a 200 stainless steel instead of the 304 that we requested, and that bid was $17,921, and total bid was $71,686. Currently, we have 4 salt spreaders. They're at least 24 years old, and they've been used up to their useful life. We can't repair them anymore, and so we're requesting these new 4 stainless steel spreaders with saddle tanks, and we request that you approve the bid from Victor L. Phillips for the price of $68,740, and I'll be welcome to answer any questions you might ask.
How long will it take to get them, Ray?
They said anywhere between 60 to 75 days. So if we got them now, we were probably looking in December.
And once you get these, Ray, what will you do with the old ones?
We will scrap them out or even put them on Purple Wave if anybody will want to buy them.
Okay, thank you.
This is a budgeted item.
Yes, this is budgeted in the street fund.
Okay.
I mean, the capital fund, sorry, in the street capital fund.
Any further questions?
No.
Make
go ahead.
a motion to approve the award of bid for purchase of 4 stainless steel V-Box salt spreaders with saddle tanks from Victor L. Phillips Co. of Topeka, Kansas for the amount not to exceed $68,740.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It's quite a tongue twister.
Yeah.
It's a mouthful.
Any further questions?
No.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners.
Next item is consideration to purchase jet fuel pumping equipment from Double Check of Wichita, Kansas, in the amount not to exceed $33,996.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, the city received notice from Lifestar that MedTrans Corporation from Denton, Texas, was going to take over their operation. During my conversation with MedTrans, they were asking if the city could supply Jet A fuel for their helicopter. We can supply the Jet A fuel. I have a supplier in Newton that can supply that. What we'd have to do is get a 4,000-gallon tank, nothing less than 4,000, because if we did something less than 4,000, it wouldn't pay to bring the jet fuel up. And then also the pumping equipment so that you can pump the jet fuel in the helicopter. Currently, Kansas Jet Center is supplying the fuel for Lifestar, and what we get out of the proceeds is a 5-cent flowage fee. Typically, what Lifestar has done for the past 2 years is anywhere between 30,000 and 35,000 gallons a year. And so what our flowage fee would be anywhere from $1,500 to $1,750 for the year. Now, if we get the jet fuel and supply it to them, right now jet fuel is going anywhere between $2.80 and $2.85. Right now fuel prices are up. Typically, we would tack on 75 to 85 cents on that purchase, and then so if you do that, if you figure 285 at the high side, low side 75 cents on our ability to add to that, we'd make anywhere from $13,500 to $17,250 depending on how much jet fuel they use. Currently, we could get some of that money out of the Airport Capital Fund. We do have some funding in there a little bit. Also, that we are looking at getting a grant. FAA has opened a grant till the end of October for fueling systems and stuff. So we'll apply for that and see if we can make that happen for us too. So we're requesting that you would approve the item to be able to purchase the jet fuel pumping equipment for $33,996. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you would like.
Are there any other customers for jet fuel besides Lifestar that are coming through?
No, not right now. It's just Lifestar, but there could be if we provide the jet fuel just like we are now supplying the avgas. So the price is a little bit cheaper than what Kansas Jet Center was selling. So we do have a few customers asking for it now.
But I have 2 questions for you. When I looked at the scope of work, where it talked about there's more to be done, like pouring the tank pad and supplying the tank and all that. So that cost for renting that tank does not include getting the area ready for it, or the area's already?
No, it would not. It would be something that Public Works would do,
Okay.
since we
then-
can do the concrete work, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question would be, do you have to train somebody now to do that fueling, or?
Right now, our airport operator, Marvin Hornbustle, can be able to take the readings and all that off the fuel gauge and all that, be able to take the checks on the filters on the jet fuel.
Thank you, that's all I had.
So even without any grant proceeds, you think you can pay it off within 2 to 3 years?
Yep, in talking to them, and I just saw their latest agreement with us, they would like to do a 5-year agreement. Currently, the agreement, I think, was $1,000 lease a month, and then they would pay for the square footage for having that mobile modular home for them to stay in there, which I think is roughly around $254 a year. So you're looking at $12,254 per year, so over the next 5-year period.
And more importantly, they're here.
Right.
That, I think,
It's an
such a,
invaluable service
that's
for the hospital.
valuable.
Exactly.
Is there a way to advertise? I don't know if there's some kind of airplane listserv out there that we have this fuel and this capability here in Junction City?
I
Other
think-
planes could come in and fly in and fill up?
I think we can, there's a way that, I know Marvin knows some publications that we could probably put that out there, get the word out to everybody. And I think word by mouth, when we had to fly in, when we had the fuel at, I think it was $3.75 at the time, there was a lot of people wanting to buy the avgas at the time. So the word, they passed the word, as pilots, they passed the word kind of around, so when they're within the area, they try to get there.
I think that would be really important to be able to advertise that
Yeah.
could be done here. And we need more use at that airport to make it viable.
Yeah.
Any other
Can they land
questions?
jets, the jets that would use that kind of fuel out there, though?
Well, their home base may be somewhere else, but they can come in here
Yeah.
and fill up.
Because you can land a twin turbo on the runway. You just got to be a very good pilot. Because our runway isn't quite long enough, but
All right.
'cause I remember when they had the Wraith-on, we had that flying, they had the big Wraith-on, and I was talking to that pilot because he had to go to Manhattan and fill up, and he says, you can do it on this field, but you couldn't have a full tank. You'd only have to have a tank, and then you could bring it in here. So it's possible.
Don't put the pump at the other runways.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I make a motion to approve the award bid for purchase of jet fuel pumping equipment from Double Check Wichita, Kansas for an amount not to exceed $33,996 as presented.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next item is consideration of the interlocal agreement between the City of Junction City, Gary County, and USD 475 for the Raythert Field project.
Mayor Landis and Commissioners, this may go hand in hand as we go next, and so we may want to move through one or the other, and we'll see how it goes. But basically, this agreement for the baseball, for Raythert Stadium, basically the county is saying that they are going to give us some money to the city to get started, and they have told me publicly at a public meeting that they have not voted though, but $200,000 out of the transient guest tax. This was the transient guest tax, the extra 1% that was designed for the sports complex. And county councilor, feels it's a proper use of everything else. At one point in time, they talked about future funding out of the guest tax. They have kind of pulled back on that. What their goal is now is to, one, increase their mill levy by 1/10 of a mill and be used for this project. Again, no lock-in, but that's their intent, because, they always don't have to levy, but let's assume they will. They did not want to use transient guest tax for this one, and again, that's their decision. Basically, the school district, what they'll do is help us out with maintenance. They have equipment in place of the artificial, not of the natural grass. And so, again, this is kind of vague to some extent, but it also covers everything I think we need to cover, because they really can't lock dollar amounts from year to year because of cash basis law. And so, and binding one commission, but it's set at least an intent that they have.
What's the value of 0.1% of a mill?
A point one of a meal is about $25,000
$25,000 a year,
a year.
potentially, go
potentially.
to this project per
And
year?
I asked if there'd be any funding next year. I have another fund, and they haven't given me an answer on that one yet.
So that,
Start in 2020 because they've levied their taxes already for 19.
so that 25,000 then would be used for the maintenance and upkeep
Well,
of that field?
it go to the city. Now, how we used it, I think would be how we, here we save it to the side for future replacement.
Okay.
Do we use it for field? I mean, you got to realize that as we move to a turf, that's also less other work that we have to hire as well. So, it's going to play out. I mean, and trust, I mean, I've watched, or at least been around Ed a little bit on this whole playground stuff. I have a lot to learn about baseball field, artificial baseball fields,
We all
so.
do. We all do.
Yeah. And so, I wish they would do a little more than that, but, at one time I thought they were going to do more because, they always said they would cover more dollars, but that's not going to happen. Also, not part of this agreement, but I did get confirmation yesterday that there is a private source that'll donate $100,000 to the base field.
Do you have any idea, Mr. Deagle, what the maintenance would cost a year on the field once it's in place? Or is that all part of the initial, once the field goes in, the company kind of takes care of it for a while, or?
You want to answer that?
Well, I think
Well, that'd be part of the next one.
that's the next.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
This
then.
is just the agreement.
Okay, all right.
Like I said, it's not a major in-depth agreement, but there's nothing wrong with it here, and it shows their intent.
Mr. Stites, are you comfortable with this agreement?
Do something.
I'm fine with it on our end as the city. Kind of we get the whole issue of cash basis. We can rely on the county as much as we can for that. But I don't see it really binding us into anything that we don't want to be in. Because it's basically saying we're going to work the field with what we already have. We're already going to maintain it like we already do. Well, our agreement is we're going to work with them with whatever they give us. That's because I read over a few times, just making sure I was comfortable with it. In the first draft, the county really wasn't given anything, at least in specific terms. But this one, they're at least trying to be more specific. My real, not hang up, but thoughts are with the school district, just in light of them building the new school and building a complex as a part of their design. Are they going to keep in the agreement long-term? That's a thought I have, but that's the only real hang-up I have on it.
I doubt that the fields that they create will be at the level of Raythard. I don't think it'll be anywhere close. I think they'll be really good fields and great for just, one team versus another, one little school thing, but Raythard is the showcase stadium.
I don't disagree with that. I just,
Right, no, I understand what you're saying. And I think we all greatly appreciate the county putting $200,000 toward this project. That's tremendous.
And Mr. Mayor, you did say last time you'd like to see a little bit more, and I think even $25,000 a year for future boards that is a good faith effort on their part to
Continue to help
do a
us.
cooperative
Fun down the road,
thing for a thing that's good for us all, for the whole county.
community, and hopefully it'll get some hotel stays and restaurant stays and whatnot, so.
We do have a resolution number.
Resolution numbers are 2868.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2868, interlocal agreement regarding Raythard Stadium.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment?
Nope.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is consider the proposals for the design, build, installation of the artificial turf at Raythard Stadium. Mr. Lizier.
Evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I sent out to Mr. Dinkle, I think he forwarded to you a spreadsheet. I don't know if everyone was able to get that and get it printed. I have extra copies if somebody needs it.
Haley does have some too, so.
I still have some copies.
Okay.
Pass them
Kind of hard to
down.
look on a phone
I
screen.
think there's
Just hard to read on the screen. I left mine at home.
See what you're looking at. I would agree with Mr. Dinkle's comment. A lot to learn about artificial turf, for sure. So when we started this process, what we basically did is we took a group of people, local stakeholders, involved Brian Fields, Steve Alaska, Denver, Kel, myself, and Jim Poole, and we went out and we visited some fields. We went to Gardner, Edgerton, and looked at some fields there, and also to Lawrence and looked at some fields. through the process, we learned about the different types of turf and different types of options, and so that's why you see on the agenda item, and it's kind of confusing, but we have the 4 different options. So the first 2 are just the turf options only, and the first option 1 is a slit film type turf, and option 2 is a monofilament slit film type blend. And then on the warning track options, and this was an idea that I think we decided we really don't like the second option, but we put it out not knowing what the prices would be, is we picked the first option to do the whole field all the way around the fence and as far as the warning track goes, down the sidelines and along the outfield fence as far as the warning track into artificial turf and not natural grass. As we looked at it and the prices came in, we really thought it over and decided that's probably not a good option to not do the outfield. Then the second option was to potentially not put a warning track in for potential savings. And then as we looked at that more, we decided that's not really a good option. So what I'll be talking about tonight would be turf option 1 and 2, and then on the warning trap auction, it would just be option 1 only. So we kind of took the second option out as a consideration.
So eliminate turf option 2.
That would be my recommendation, yeah. We don't really want to consider that. The pricing is on there, but we don't, as a group, we decided that probably wasn't the way to go. Just a brief little bit of what we learned about the different types of turf that they have. The slit film type turf is basically a tuft of a grass blade that is sewn in, and then in through that blade, it's all slit up and has openings in the middle. And a monofilament blade is a solid 1 real small strand blade. The originally, if my checking is right, like original football fields that were AstroTurf or what we'd call AstroTurf were all monofilament blend. Over time, they learned that monofilament will break. It's not really pliable, it's just a single strand. And so that's why the industry kind of came out with doing a blend of the slit film and the turf, if that kind of makes sense. Everyone I talked to, most of the vendors, did say that the slit film is going to give you the longest and the best life. It's going to be the most durable out there. The turf blends with the monofilament in, the benefit to that is it does, some manufacturers say they prefer that. It improves the playability, the way the ball rolls and how that works. And so the key thing we learned on everything on the turf is if you look at the turf out of the box, it's almost just flat. It's all the infill material that they put in and rake in that stands that up, if that makes sense to you. So as we looked through all the bids of the group, we pretty much narrowed down what we thought the best bids, at least for what we're wanting to do, was the first one on the list, the ATG Sports, and the last one on the list, which was the Hellas. Both those options looked good to us. The group did say, as we viewed both types of fields, the group both agreed that we liked either one of the fields. We thought they were nice. The group did say, though, that they agreed with the slit film would give you maybe a little bit longer life. Mm-hmm. They're warranted the same amount of time. But that, like I say, was just, if you would hope to get more than the 8 years warranty out of it, I think that would be an option. The major differences in those two bids, I kind of highlighted on my side. The warranties are basically the same. The way they seam the way they seam the turf comes in 15-foot rolls, so there'd be several seams out in there. The Hellas company, it glues their turf, actually, as where all the rest of the vendors chose sewing. So if that tells you anything, if the majority of people are sewing them as opposed to gluing them, I don't know for sure or not. And as far as the infill material, both Hellas and ATG, very similar type infill. There was an option or a question that we'd asked out on the steel cleats. No one really included it in their bid, so I actually called every one of these vendors and asked some questions just so I could compare apples to apples. ATG Sports said they do allow steel cleats and it will not affect the warranty. Originally, Hellas said, no, they don't. And then today, late in the day, or it was actually midday, I received a text from Hellas and said that they would be willing to
remove that portion from their warranty and say steel cleats are allowed. How or why, I don't know why. But they did send that information to me. Another difference, and this is probably the most important one to me, again, we like both fields. The Hellas bid, they propose in the high traffic areas, your home plate where the kids dig in, first base, where all the running's going on all the time, they propose a removable panel that they supply. And so when that area wears out, you just pull that panel out, put a new one in. I asked the question about the warranty being the same. So if you're going to allow steel cleats in your warranty, does that mean you're just going to give us new panels whenever we want them? And the answer was no. So I'm not so sure how that's going to work on that. The other issue I have on the panels, and I wouldn't say it's an issue, but as you replace panels over the 8 or 10 years we're going to do this, I'm sure there's going to be some color changing. And so I think in the future, we'd have the potential of having a different looking parts of the field because of the brand new infill material compared to the old, if that makes sense to you. But those were the kind of the key highlight points. On a benefit to the Hellas side, which is the very last column, the sub-base stabilization, they don't know until they start working. That may be something that needs to be done. If they do, ATG Sports would be about $41,000 addition. It's just to get the base the way they want it. And Hellas, they've agreed that that's included in their price. So even if they have to do the stabilization, it wouldn't affect their price.
So we wouldn't know ATG's full cost until they get in there and start looking around?
Well, every single one that bid, that was an alternate, except for Hellas.
Except for Hellas?
Except for Hellas. Every single one that bid it said that was the...
And correct, these, what did you call those panels
I'm
things?
going to call them a panel, removable panels.
That's a positive thing, right? Am I correct? And I understand what you said when we need them, but when we'd only need them if other ones were worn out, correct?
Well, right. As they wear out, they would need replaced. And I think they would be noticeable, I guess, in my opinion. The fields we toured did not have those panels, so I didn't get to see them. But I would think from up there, you could see the panel.
That panels in high-traffic area could possibly save in the future for wear and tear costs, and, 8, 10 years down the road, maybe we're just replacing panels and not all of it.
Okay.
Entire section.
Right.
A potential possibility. Mm-hmm.
The other thing that would be of interest to me is all the gluing versus sewing. With the weather starting to get cold and they're gluing in those seams, as the weather changes, is that going to start affecting the?
I don't know enough about that to say. I mean, just my thinking, I would think sewing would be a more permanent than a glue. I mean, glue fails, but obviously, it's a standard they're willing to warranty at that time.
Mr. Lazier, the GMAX rating, what is that?
GMAX is really, it's kind of like the playground surface. It's how hard the surface is when people fall on it. It's really more like on football fields, but they do include their rating. And the rating you want to be under is 200, and everybody meets that spec. Max rating will be under 200.
Your recommendation is what?
Well, because I like them both. Hellas has, the cost is a little bit better. ATG Sports, I would say, would be my recommendation. For the reasons I asked, I mean, the fields I looked at that didn't have the panels were simply gorgeous. And, Rather Stadium is our number one asset in the Parks and Rec. And I know it's a cost up front, but that would be my recommendation. Just several things were kind of included in all, like an annual inspection was included in ATG's bid. Hellas could do it as an option. I mean, they added $4,000 to their bid, but they will come out every year, inspect the field, retrain our staff, address any repairs. Right now, we don't have to wait. We don't have to call them and say, hey, we're having an issue. Come out. They'll come out every year. They'll do that. They believe in their product, the slit film. The ATG recommends their preferred product is a slit film. They think they can get the most wear out of it, the longest life, without needing to have the replaceable panels. They just think their product's that good that it will last that time. On the Hellas one, I would recommend, for the same reason, we'd use their monofilament blend. And the reason is Hellas is preferred, what they tout as their best product, is the monofilament blend. Again, just using
But
in
one
their
of the things
proposals.
that you mentioned on the ATG was the sub-base stabilization. So we potentially could add another $41,000
There
to
potentially
that.
could be $41,000.
And we don't know that.
We won't know until.
But
they
we
start.
do know that with Hellas.
We do know that with Hellas,
And they're already, ATG's already $59,000 higher.
and they are higher.
So that plus potential for
Another-
further increased costs, you could be at $100,000 before you do it.
And I see the panels as an asset more than a liability, future costs.
If they really wanted the bid, then they should have done a quick geology assessment.
Because you
If
can always
they're gonna
take the
bid on
panels
this stuff.
off.
Like I say, myself and the group agreed, we liked both,
I think it holds color
Both.
pretty well.
companies, both Hellas and ATG.
So you don't have a heartburn about either one?
No, but they asked my recommendation, and it's just
I
based on what I was able to go out and view and see. I just like the look.
Ed's did a wonderful job of gathering information. And
Yep, thank you, Ed.
Yeah,
got-
For all you
got-
guys that did and
you got
everybody that
Artificial
was.
Turf 101.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
You got an A in it.
It's interesting that Hella's turf options are the same price between the monofilament and the slip.
They are.
Right.
They are.
So whichever we want, we can get.
Yes. Well, they're virtually the same price. There's a few dollars, like $100 or something. Yeah, they're either one. Yeah.
And with Precision Construction, they only had 1-year warranty on the base.
Now, I apologize for not mentioning that. Again, when I completed this spreadsheet, I was basically going off of the data they provided, the bids, and then reaching out and calling people. They have since, I met with them today, they were in town, and we sat down and talked. And I think when he came up here, he said they would even do an 8 or a 12-year base, but kind of just, I don't know why, but why it wouldn't be in their original proposal, but when they learned that everyone else they were comparing to was that, they said they would warranty that.
Can I come back to the glue? When I did any research on this, where it talked about the glue, so if we put it down, when I put it down now, if that's the way we were to go, as the weather changes and if potentially the seam starts to be shown, or is this company going to come and fix that so you don't have those seams?
That would be I would call that a warranty issue. And what I've learned, I didn't specifically get, but it looks like the industry warranty is prorated, divided over the 8-year lifespan. I think Hellas might be at like a 12%, if I read the spec correct, and the rest are over the lifespan. But the warranties do include labor, so it's not like just a parts only.
And when you talk about the warranty, the turf and the base, so 8 years is what, the national average standard? So after 8 years, we're pretty much on
Kind
our
of
own?
what got us on the base is we talked to most of the vendors, and all of them said, your money's in your base. Even to the point where if you do ours, or if you had a base done by somebody else, we'd be real hesitant to come in and put new turf on top of it, because they really think that's an important part of the drainage and how the base is laid to the success of their product. They say they have to have a really good base under it to do the warranty they need to do for their,
Base.
So the turf option one, that does all the base pass and then outside the base pass, right? All the way up
Exactly.
to the fences, side fences.
and all, yes, side fences and around the
I
outfield.
think we need to do it all.
Yeah.
I agree.
No dirt,
No,
no
no
warning
dirt
track
showing.
at all.
Just the grass in the outfield and that's it.
And just have the warning track go
So
down?
I don't really want to fool with option 2.
Yeah, that's why I removed that option at the beginning. We don't really want to consider that.
I got two questions, Ed.
Yes, sir.
And again, I'm not sure what I'm asking, but turf pile weight, there's a difference there. Is that, we go from a 30 to a 48 in all the bids.
That's true.
Going down here and here and not this part.
Learned that.
Track out here.
So is this.
I think it's important to have
These are base pass.
I think you'd want your number up there, but what a lot of the folks will explain to you is that the infill material is what you're really playing on.
Okay.
So, if you really would get technical, you could say theirs, would have less infill of the higher weight, but again, we didn't get into that much detail, but that's an ounce per yard of how many. It's kind of like, I guess if you're looking at buying carpet for your house, that's how they kind of do it, is
Okay.
they say this is your yarn weight or your weight of your carpet to determine the quality.
And I realize this is a baseball field, but and maybe Brian can answer this one better than anybody here. Our high school football field, is that a sewed, is it a glued?
I think it's a combination. Just to clarify something, so when we had to warranty that field just recently, Board of Education, it was prorated.
Okay.
So it was prorated for, I think it was the 6 or 7. I don't recall the details. I won't get into that. To my understanding, a lot of those are actually sewed and glued. Just as far as the temperature. They use different application processes.
And they don't want to come back either.
I wouldn't think so.
Sure. What's coming up?
So, if I could, yeah, just a couple quick things. My understanding, the way I see it is the slip film was actually first, the monofill came later. What a lot of the companies have done is started to blend because they realize they're getting the best of both worlds when they blend. So players, coaches prefer the blend. Secondly, the panels, I do want to say, my understanding on the panels, and this is my memory of when HEG came and presented, was they already said that they don't recommend the removable panels, but that they would have to come back and replace the high traffic areas. So they're not going to stand up necessarily any better, to my recollection. It was just that they have to come back. So as time wears on and you walk out there and you realize that in the middle of a week, you've got a ball game and you've got a pretty good tear in your mound, you got a removable panel, you walk down to the shed, you pull it out, you go replace the panel, or you turn it 180 if it's in the batter's box, because people tend to be back in the back of the batter's box where they tend to do this. You just flip the panel if you need to. If you have an issue with your turf and it's not a repair or replaceable panel, they have to physically come back, cut that out, and replace it.
Basically, put a panel in.
They have to put a new piece in. They're going to sew a new piece in. And they even said themselves, that could take a few days. I mean, it just depends, because they may have to make the panel, depending on if they have leftover turf and what the situation may be. And so the idea of the removable panels, and just from doing some research, that's what a lot of places are going to. Wichita State has that. A lot of your newer, even some of your, interestingly enough, there's a professional team that is going to a blend, and they're going to have the removable areas, because obviously that's going to be important to them to be able to maintain. And so that's where that came from. I don't know if there's any other questions, but did that answer your question? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you'd asked
I mean,
about the sewn and glued.
You've been around fields more than probably anybody in this room, so.
I think one of the other things that is important, because Ed talked about it, is what's put in as far as sand and rubber. What's put in as far as the pea gravel and the rubber when you look splash is huge. And what they mean by splash is, so on football fields, soccer fields, baseball fields, as people and balls contact the turf, a lot of times that inert material, what they put in, will splash. And so especially on newer fields. Sand tends to be something that you see a lot of splash with. You get a lot more splash, so you're getting sand and dust. So the pea gravel is another thing that we really liked, because when you go look at some of those fields, you don't have as much splash. The rubber still can splash, but not to the degree, and so that was another thing that we really liked. But as far as playability, I mean, I agree with that. I like the Ram turf. I think it looked great, the ATG. I think it looked and it looked like it really held up. I think the combination, each company, I think he said this, each company is going to tell you what they like. They prefer their slit film. Hellas prefers their blend. And as far as playability, I mean, from what I've read and from some different people I've talked to in the baseball world, they do believe that the blend has a little better playability. I mean, it even goes as far as to some companies will tell you what they think is better in the outfield and what some think is better in the infield, because of the amount of hops that you get on an infield versus an outfield. So, and the running and everything else. And so it's just kind of what holds up better, what doesn't hold up better. And I think we agree that from what we've read, that the slit film does tend to hold up a little better, but
you're still going to have to replace, you're still going to, every 3 years or so, you may have to come in and cut out those areas. Whereas if you have removable panels, they may make it, obviously first base and your pitcher's mound and your home plate are going to be the ones that are affected the most. Second base maybe a little bit around, but third base not quite as much because it doesn't have as much traffic there. Not as many base runners make it to third as they do first, obviously.
So
And
the
then
panels don't need glue. Those are just
they're
plug and
Velcroed
play.
in. This company Velcros theirs in.
No seam at all?
There's another company too that I believe Velcros theirs in, who also had the removable Spartan turf too. Sprint turf, I'm sorry. Yeah, Sprint turf does
So
too.
Hellas is just a panel, slide it in, you're done.
It's a Velcro. It goes over but see, and that's another thing. It doesn't go necessarily over the base. I think it goes over, and that's something to be clarified, but a lot of times you see that over your regular turf. So you've got your base turf and then you've got your removable panel. So it just increases the traffic area. And a lot of times, and if it doesn't, a lot of times it's heavier. So it's a heavier weight in the high traffic areas. So those panels, especially at home plate, if you look, and I know aesthetics is important to everybody. I'm the first one to agree. We want that field to look as good as we possibly can. But it's, at home plate, when people are in and out of the boxes all the time and when they're moving and when they swing, you get your back foot moving, it's going to be some torsion. That's why you want heavier density in those areas.
Sure.
And as far as the steel cleat thing, yeah, on the warranty, that is, it is something important, and they've said that they would still warranty it with steel cleats. Originally, one thing I think is important to think about is if you had a kid playing baseball, would you want to have to bring 2 pairs of cleats or have 2 pairs of cleats depending on what kind of field you were playing on? People don't want to do that, and obviously the colleges are allowing them to wear steel cleats. You just have to be aware of the fact that you're going to have to probably replace those high traffic areas more frequently. That's where I think, anyway, the removable panels give you an advantage.
So Ed, did you say Hellas would do a yearly inspection, or it was not?
That's included in their bid.
It is included in it.
That is included as part of their bid, and every one of the vendors, that was an option. They just didn't include it in the bid, is what they would do.
So we need to make sure we have that in writing.
So when they
Oh, no,
do
excuse me,
those,
I'm sorry, I got that backwards.
they didn't have.
No, it is an option for Hellas.
We don't know what that-
ATG is included in the bid.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
we would need
I
to,
think
yeah.
we need to elbow them to.
If I can back up just real quick too, Brian was unable to make the tour. We went to Gardner and Lawrence, and it was explained to us that it is not ATG's intent on the slit film that they should come out and have to replace it anytime. They're saying they believe in the quality of their product good enough that they're going to warranty it that long. And that's what it was explained to us. Now, he may have visited with them on a different occasion or something.
When he came here, though, that's what he told us.
I don't recall that, but that's okay. And then secondly, just another thing, and I don't know what was all included, but I'm assuming these panels are going to be full of this infill, just like the turf, I'm guessing. So unless they do actually sit on top. And so I'm not sure how easy that's going to be to get all that rubber and sand out of 2 inches of carpet 30 foot long and then put a panel in and then dump that back on it. I don't know. I really didn't think that far ahead on it, but I think there's more to it than just ripping out a panel and
Any
putting
of the
it in.
companies say what their yearly maintenance costs are on their existing turf?
Pardon me?
What their yearly maintenance costs are? I mean, do they have to put the rubber stuff down so often, or?
And I know for sure on Hellas and ATG, I did not, the others, they at the initial inception, they leave you tons of the infill material to use. And they say enough to last, pallets of it, because they want you putting it on there, because they say that infill is what keeps their field alive. And so they want you putting it on there. And then also, everyone also included what I'd call a field groomer, a groomer that on a regular basis, you go out and it sweeps and picks up all the debris and kind of redistributes the rubber.
That's included? That field groomer's included?
Yeah, on every one of the bids, there is a groomer included, with the exception of, there was one that didn't have it. I think that would have been Kansas Turf, did not
Well,
include a
if that's
groomer.
included, then what will school district do?
I haven't had the conversation with the school district. That was, I think they were just mainly an offer, I guess. I'm not sure. But we definitely would want our own field groomer because I believe it's something you want to do on I mean, that's the way it was explained to us. If you take care of your field the way we
Yeah, I
recommend,
agree. We need to have our own.
you're going to get the best life out of your
We have
your
space
field.
for it in the shed.
Oh, yeah. We'll make room.
I'm really worried about ATG's potential costs. That really bothers me. And I wish they would have done better homework so that they could have a proper bid with less question marks.
Sure.
I think to me that just knocks them out of the park. Pardon the pun.
Agreed.
And I think, like the mayor said, that yearly inspection, we ought to try to see if they can include that.
We could do that. We could definitely
And then,
make sure they would add
then
that.
everybody else did yearly training
No, it's an option.
option.
Basically, what at least what ATG proposed, and nobody else proposed it, so I couldn't see what they did, but ATG would do a annual inspection. They would come out and inspect the field. They would bring their machine, and they would sweep it like we would sweep it, but their machine would have a magnet on it, a magnetic device to pick up any type of metal or anything and do that for us. And then while they're here, they would do the inspection and any repairs that they felt were needed at the time.
It does,
On
the
the
school
field.
district maintains their field up there, am I correct?
Yes, they do.
And there is so they've gotten probably pretty good at it because they've had that artificial turf up there for, what,
Couple of years.
4 or 5 years? So obviously those guys probably know what they're doing with that
I
already.
would think so.
Would I not?
I'm not so sure. Didn't Matt
Believe that,
himself actually do a
Brian?
lot of it? Doesn't Matt actually do a lot of the?
Yeah, I mean,
I think,
they oversee it. They do have,
right.
sometimes he does get out there.
Yeah, I just heard him say that he's really, yeah.
They've agreed to maintain this portion of the field for us, right?
I guess that's in the
understand.
agreement.
Whose
That-
did they
if that's-
buy?
Pardon me?
Whose did they buy?
Whose?
Turf did they buy, do you know?
I do not know. I haven't really had any conversation with the school on it. This was really, we've been on a kind of a fast track to,
We didn't,
yeah, we didn't address it.
I'm not
Do you
sure if he knew the
recall,
brands.
Brian? Brian might know what product they own. Oh, he's busy.
Let me talk some money here real quick. Basically, we have $300,000 coming from outside sources. We were planning to do $45,000 of ours. What I would suggest is we purchase this, we use a lease purchase option for anything above $300,000. That way, the $45,000 we have planned, if we want to push it elsewhere to do maybe some cosmetics around the ballpark, we can look at it or do that. It's borrowing a little more, but at the interest rates we're getting right now, yet it just gives us a little more cush. We're going to be at the next meeting. We're going to have lease purchase or talk about for a new street sweeper because I think Ray has bids for street sweeper next time, so we can package that together. So that possibility affects in there. It just gives us a little more wiggle room, which I like to have. I think we're making a nice move here. I mean, I think as Commissioner Brown has said, we can make this a real showcase. And we all know about the history of Rayford Field and the cool looking stadium and everything else. And we want to take care of the field, but I think it's also important to take care of everything else and to make it what we can make it. And this way, I'm also not going to compromise any risk to any of the other projects that you want to do next year as well, too. We can spread this out a little bit. I made a comment to somebody today, we're doing some of these projects, but I always call a city, it's just like a corporation. If you have money invested in a corporation, you get dividends every year. Our dividends to our people that have paid taxes, that have stuck with the city through the tough times, we give them dividends, not in money, but we give it to them in services. We give them better streets. We give them ball fields to increase quality of life in this town. That's what we do. And I think this is really hitting the home run here with, home run here for sure.
Unintended.
Unintended, yeah, it was. A home run here in providing some really neat opportunities for our community, for people, but also for our youth. And I think that's real important.
So are we making a recommendation or a proposal
Which one?
then on this tonight?
I would recommend, if you're gonna do it, do
We
it
need to get
tonight.
going on it because we're running out of time. We got to
you
get
know-
grass and hopefully it'll be ready for the high school next.
Yeah, we have baseball players on their March 1.
Yep.
How soon can these companies get going?
November 1st for sure.
think they're
At
both
least the
ready.
two proposals that we're really
I think most
looking at
everybody's
close,
ready to go.
they would be ready to move in real soon.
Put all the
Definitely.
sod. All the sod by March, it's by,
You know, I laid sod December 10th in my house, and I think you can play ball March 1. I didn't,
Yeah.
of course. You know, there's some weather guess. You know, I do believe that you do have a little window in there. I'd hate to, but, you know, they'll start practice March 1 with the first game, probably March 28th-ish or so, somewhere about 4 weeks later. So, you know, if you have to buy a little more time, you can and use
North Park.
North Park as a practice field. I mean, is it ideal? No, but
Right.
you know.
Matt did reach out to me last night.
Okay.
And he, you know, he said, Ed, I'm so on this. He says, you know, if it's not ready March 1st, he says it's worth the willing. He says, we're willing to, you know, practice somewhere else or maybe even switch a few home games or, you know, I said, well, that's good to know. But he did reach out to me last night and say that he really wants the project. So it's not that big a concern if he has to wait for it.
And I think another thing is Ed and everybody else and Brian, thank you for his help. We've got great community involvement in this project.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of players getting together. So if you're gonna go, if you go AGT, you'd go option 1, correct?
On ATG, I would do turf option 1, warning trap option 1.
And on
And if they decided on Hellas, I would do turf option
2.
2, warning trap option 1.
Yeah, they don't have the second one anyhow.
That's right, yeah.
You would do what for Hellas?
Turf option 2,
Turf option 2.
where
You're right, the warning track doesn't matter what
he
you
would
decide.
go, and that was just recommendation by their companies. Yeah.
So is that turf option 2, is that the blend?
blend.
Okay.
Yes, that is the blend.
I think Hellas is the only way to go just because of the uncertainty and final cost. We don't have that kind of play.
Yep.
Additional 60 to 100 grand, I just can't see it. Because we still need to replace all the decking out there. And then the outfield boards are about shot. So there's additional costs that we're
That's
gonna
why
have
the
to put
lease
in.
purchase fits
Yeah.
in too, because, I mean, let's look at the package.
I can't, you know, we don't have an extra 100 grand laying around.
Right.
And I think, you know, they're good quality companies, quality products. You know, I think we can,
And if I could, just, I know you're, just I wanted to add something to it. And either way, we're going to take care of it. But if the last couple of columns, we talked about the additional concrete. One of the things that we kind of, and not everybody bid on it because as they came out and viewed, we kind of made a decision that along the first baseline where the beer garden is, we have the concrete, and where this warning track is going to pick up, there's going to be a space of dirt between and the turf. And so we want to address that with concrete ourselves to prevent any of that dirt getting on. You know, we don't want that to be an issue. So if you were what was the additional concrete? I mean, we only had, I believe, one or two of the companies that were there, and we talked about it and put it in. But I don't think we'd ask them to do it. I think we'd try to do it in conjunction with them, with our own staff at the same time, public works staff to do it. I don't see a major cost in that.
it's materials.
Can I ask just one more question, please? Oh, you said no.
Time has expired.
Don't ask.
Please, Vice Mayor.
When they do that yearly inspection and they find issues, then that's, does the warranty cover those issues? Or do we have some deductible that goes with it, or?
Again,
Prorated.
because the only one
Prorated.
company, Hellas, did not include that in their thing, so they didn't specify what their annual inspection would be. When I reached out and called them, they said we could do that, and I don't know a cost or anything, but.
Well, and now with FaceTime, I mean, if you find an issue, you can put your phone on it and they can see it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
We didn't get a bid, but I mean, it'd be nice if we could just do the whole field. This is way, and I think Brian told me Wichita State had a grass outfield years ago, with a turf infield. If you were going to do it all, you have to add probably another 3 to 350.
Well,
So
this
this is a good step.
coastal should help us keep some of the temperature down too, having some grass out there, I'm thinking.
That's been a concern.
Are we ready?
So I'll make a motion that we award turf option 2, warning track option 1 to Hellas Construction Incorporated in Austin, Texas for the amount of $424,715.
Can you add, we will use a lease purchase option in this process.
And we will use a lease purchase option in this process.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment?
Nope.
All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, folks. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Ms.
much.
Lazier. You guys did a lot of work. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Fields.
guys.
Thank you, everybody. Brian, Ed, thank you.
Next time, Commissioner comments. Commissioner Brown.
I've got Flint Hills Regional Council this Friday. Obviously, looks like the park's coming along. I know I spent some with Phyllis down there a couple weeks ago. And obviously, hopefully it's dried up a little bit where they can get in and do that, but it's really coming along. So I'm very pleased with what's going on there, and I'm
Great.
very happy to see tonight with Rayford Field. I think we made a big step in improving our quality of life a little bit in the city. Very pleased with that. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Albritton?
Our monthly animal shelter board meeting got pushed back to the 24th of this month of October. So we'll be, K-State is also coming to present on their mobile unit as far as neutered and that type of nature of stuff. So they're going to be proposing what they can do for us, can do for Junction City. So other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Underhill?
Had the opportunity to go speak to fifth grade boys at Eisenhower Elementary with Geared Up Dads. Then proceeded to get my butt whooped in football when I went outside with recess with them. So not 10 years old anymore. But Geared Up Dads is doing great things with the boys and the kids in our school district. So any chance we have to support them and their programs, highly recommend it. Then also this Saturday, Junction City Brigade is having a golf tournament as a fundraiser out at Rolling Meadows. So registration begins at 8. So hopefully everybody can get out there and attend and support that organization as well.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. This Thursday is our next Military Affairs Council meeting. That's at 4 p.m. at the Chamber. A couple of topics we'll be talking about is our recent trip to AUSA. I had a chance to meet the new MAC director who will be on board pretty soon. And also on October the 25th at 7:30 at the Marriott is our next MAC breakfast. The guest speaker will be Katie Gorel from our Geary County Historical Society Museum, and she'll be talking about Fort Riley and the Buffalo Soldier connection. Earlier today, we also were informed by Senator Moran and Representative Marshall that Fort Riley is going to be getting a new explosive ordnance headquarters. Detection EOD Battalion headquarters here at Fort Riley, which is consists of about 54 soldiers plus any family members. Small unit. When we went to AUSA, General Milley, Chief of Staff of the Army, did inform all of us that we would be getting some types, smaller type units. So this is a step in the right direction for our Fort Riley and our community. So we can expect a few more soldiers. Not sure the time frame on that yet, but that's what we pretty much learned. Not what we're getting or when, but action has already been taken. So I know our communities appreciate that as well as Fort Riley. Just a reminder, every Saturday, if you're interested, we do set up a Saturday cleanup project of our beautiful Junction City. We have lots of volunteers that come out, and we do appreciate that very much. That's all I have, Mayor.
You want to do this?
Sure. Oh, no, you really want me to?
What? You had your chance. I mean,
Okay, here, you can do it.
go ahead.
Okay, on October the 31st, the Harvest Block Party will be at 337 West 7th Street here in Junction City. So if you're interested in that, 5:30 to 8 p.m. I know we went last year and it was really cold. And I know my phone kind of died from the cold weather. But anyways, the last thing, since you gave me the floor again, Mayor, I have to say, I learned a lot about baseball fields, different types of turfs, the warning tracks and everything, so it was definitely a lot of, I just think everybody that had a part in that, putting all that together, we do appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. A few things. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so I encourage all ladies to have their yearly mammogram, get that done, and continue with their monthly self-exams and go see your doctor at least once a year. City manager and the Commissioner Underhill and Vice Mayor and I attended the AUSA meeting in Washington, D.C. Last week. We had some good exchange with the Manhattan contingent as well as Senator Moran's office and his staff, and also Senator Marshall's staff. We talked a little bit about economic development in this area, trying to attract more businesses here, and the Economic Development Commission hosted a mixer, a reception for the defense contractors that were at the meeting. And we had several contractors come and show considerable interest in our community, wanted to learn more and venture out here and take a look at us as a potential site to set up shop. So we were very excited about that. We had some good interaction with our legislators' staff, and we'll be having more discussions about other economic possibilities here in the future. So let's see, what else? Anything else? I'd like to thank the team that spent all the time going through all the turf and stuff. That's a big job. I think our community is really going to be excited about it once it's in. I remember when the Simpler Stadium had turf for the first time and how beautiful that everything just popped. I mean, it just changed everything. So we're real excited about that. So thank you guys for doing all that work. Mr. Nickel.
Don't have a whole lot about the playground before. They're hoping to have a ribbon cutting November 2nd. We'll see if we get there or not. But crews have done a wonderful job. Fire department employees, instead of sitting at Station 1 or Station 2 during the day, they take their fire trucks and ambulance and they're out there doing the work. And again, I give kudos to Chief Johnson because we have a department that's coming there. I mean, I drove up there with Lindsay one day and she said, "Oh my God, there's an ambulance there." And no, the ambulance was there because if we had to call, we'd go from there rather than a station. So it's good use of time, and I really appreciate Chief's leadership on that. And of course, Ed's crew and Ray's crew have done a rock star job on that as well. Tammy and Lindsay are gone. I just come back from Branson. They went to the NPR, which we have our insurance through, their annual meeting, brings it back. Lindsay sent me a note today that NPR offers a health insurance package that I've never been a fan of. Our health insurance renewed this year for the third time now at 0 rate increase. NPR is looking at a 10% rate increase. We've done, as we're doing. I think we've learned how to control costs. We do what I call partial self-funding or the baby step self-funding, but it has worked for us so far. And granted, I wish we could pay more of the employees' health insurance, which we can't do. But I think we have a plan that provides the benefits, and that's real important. We had an employee that we looked at. She has where she's at now has a $10,000 deductible. We still offer the employees a $1,500 or $2,500. So that's big stuff, and it all fits in. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Tice?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Reese? Chief Johnson?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Ibarra? Mr. Osborne? Mr. Lazire? Mr. Peterson? Mr. Grumman?
Nothing, sir, thank you.
Haley?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
I told Haley 8:15.